From luxury to meaning. Through rose-colored glasses. Marilyn Stanley ruled in her world of luxury, enveloped in the tranquility that her father Richard Stanley's wealth could provide. Lavish parties, expensive cars, and endless shopping sprees were part of her everyday life. Her days were filled with carefree moments, and money seemed endless. However, one day, Richard decided to teach his daughter a lesson in independence. Marilyn was forced to leave the golden cage she had grown accustomed to. Her father denied her financial support, leaving her alone, devoid of glamour and her usual status. Under the stars of New York, far from her luxurious world, Marilyn felt the first gusts of the cold wind of reality. Her rose-colored glasses began to crack, and she encountered, for the first time, that life could be complex and unforgiving. Challenges she never foresaw stood before her. Yet, a new chapter was beginning, a chapter where the pampered daughter had to find her own way in a world she had only heard of but never seen. Fall into reality. The gray walls of New York rose around Marilyn as a sign that her luxurious days were behind her. Accustomed to elegant restaurants and the finest boutiques, she now wandered the streets where the smells of street food mixed with the scent of asphalt. It was a new reality, different from the glitter of her past life. Without a massive bank account and her father's shadow, Marilyn felt lost in the bustling city crowds. The rustle of the mundane penetrated her luxurious world, shattering it into pieces. After carefree days came a period full of tough decisions and financial difficulties. Nights became long and quiet. In the flickering lights of skyscrapers, Marilyn sought her place in this unfamiliar maze. She realized that to survive, she needed to leave a mark in this vast city, full of opportunities and dangers. With each step, she felt the rose-colored glasses that once covered her eyes begin to crack. She saw the true picture of life, not the illusion created by her privileged status. In this fall into reality, Marilyn began to find strength that had been hidden beneath a layer of indifference to the world around her. Rescue and a little friend. Marilyn stood on the intersection, staring intently at the gray stream of cars and the crowds of passers-by. It was her first day in a world where money was not a magical key to everything. The collision with the new reality passed like a shadow, leaving a bitter taste of rejection and failure. But at that moment, as she stepped onto the road, something made her slow down. A small, dirty, and battered puppy looked at her with hope in its eyes. Fate had thrown them together, and Marilyn realized that now she had a responsibility for another being. This little friend became a source of inspiration for her. Together, they experienced restless nights and caring moments. The puppy, named Tommy, became not only her companion but also a catalyst for a new idea. One day, strolling through dusty streets, they saw a group of homeless animals dreaming of warmth and a home. And then, Marilyn felt something inside her, like a lit-up light. She decided that she had to do something more, to help not only herself, but also those who found themselves in the same dire situation as she did. The idea of a shelter for homeless animals matured in her mind, like a tiny seed sprouting under the rays of the spring sun. This shelter, born from suffering and loss, became not only a rescue for the animals, but also a salvation for Marilyn herself. She realized that even in the darkest moments, one can find light and create something positive. Idea ignited by suffering. Taking little Tommy into her life, Marilyn felt that in this mutual rescue, there was hidden potential for change. Her mornings now began with a playful puppy and joyful barks, replacing luxurious breakfasts in exquisite restaurants. With each passing day, she discovered new meaning in the simple joys of life. One day, strolling through a park where the leaves of autumn trees whispered their stories, Marilyn encountered homeless dogs and cats seeking affection and warmth, much like her Tommy. Something inside her resonated, like inspiration. The idea of a shelter for homeless animals began to shine in her mind like a bright star in the dark night. She felt that it was not just a chance to help others, but also a way to overcome her own pain and difficulties. The suffering she endured in the first days of her new life transformed into fuel for a new beginning. Planning began. Marilyn researched how to establish a shelter, gather donations, and provide care for the animals. She reached out to people, sharing her story and urging them to join her cause. In every action, in every moment of suffering, she saw a chance to do something great. Thus, the idea ignited by suffering was born, and this idea became the mission of her life. Marilyn not only weathered the changes, but used them to give meaning not only to her own life, but also to the lives of those left to fend for themselves. Letting go of the past. Gradually, the idea of the shelter became an integral part of Marilyn's life. She realized that to truly create something new, she had to let go of the past, which seemed to her a golden cage, but turned out to be a shadow over her freedom. Letting go of the past was a challenging process. Marilyn understood that ties to high society, which once seemed natural to her, now became shackles. She resolutely turned away from privileges and luxuries to dedicate herself to her mission. The first step in this rejection was evident in how she discarded clothing and accessories that epitomized her previous status. The new Marilyn dressed simply but with dignity. She freed herself from the chains of burden and found strength in this liberation. Upon learning of her decision, her father attempted to bring her back to the luxurious world, but she refused. The past, which seemed safe and cozy, became a shadow she left behind. Marilyn realized that true freedom comes not from the number of zeros in a bank account, but from the ability to let go and start anew. With each passing day, Marilyn felt how letting go of the past brought her closer to a new life, filled not only with her own purpose, but also with meaning for those she intended to save. In search of allies. Several weeks passed, and Marilyn realized that creating a shelter was a task too immense for one person. She began actively searching for people willing to support her in this noble endeavor. Advertisements, posts on social media, and meetings with potential like-minded individuals, she tirelessly worked, aiming to unite people ready to invest their efforts in creating a haven of kindness and care. In her search, people appeared who shared her passion for animals and believed in the power of human goodness. Together, they began to build a team, where each contributed to the common cause. Finding support in these individuals, Marilyn felt that the shelter was not just her idea, it was a collaborative creation, where everyone had their role and significance. The beginning of the shelter. Marilyn made the final decision: she was founding a shelter for homeless animals. The building she chose was modest, but filled with warmth and love, a place where the souls of lost creatures could find refuge. At that moment, a new chapter of her life began. The first days of running the shelter were full of challenges. Marilyn faced organizational difficulties, a lack of resources, and a stream of homeless animals that needed acceptance and care. But in these challenges, she found strength and determination. Gradually, the shelter transformed into a cozy place where each animal received not only food and shelter, but also attention, care, and love. Marilyn, becoming their mentor and protector, discovered that in this process, not only did the animals find a home, but she herself found her place in this world. With the arrival of helpers and volunteers, the idea of the shelter became a reality. Marilyn was surrounded by those who shared her passion and were ready to support this noble cause. Gradually, the whispers of grateful paws and the purring of happy cats filled the shelter space. The chapter concludes with hope and new endeavors. Marilyn realizes that even in the most difficult moments, when everything seems lost, one can find the strength to rise again and create something good and meaningful. The beginning of the shelter became a symbol of rebirth and the embodiment of her new path in life. The struggle for support. Creating the shelter was only the beginning, and Marilyn understood that for its successful development, she needed to attract financial support and public attention. She entered a new stage of her journey, where each step required determination and strategy. Deciding to use her story and the shelter as a platform to attract attention, Marilyn began actively organizing charitable events. Thanks to her charisma and passion, she skillfully communicated with potential sponsors, telling them about her mission and the importance of support for homeless animals. At the same time, she faced blatant difficulties. Not everyone shared her vision, and some doubted the feasibility of successfully running a shelter. Nevertheless, Marilyn did not give up. Her persistence and passion were infectious, and she found those willing to support her cause. The struggle for support led to the creation of a network of partners and sponsors. Local businesses, organizations, and individuals began expressing their support, providing financial assistance, material resources, and even their expertise for effective shelter management. In these challenging battles for support, Marilyn learned not only to weave networks of funding sources, but also to unite people around her idea. Thanks to this chapter of her story, she became not only the face of the shelter, but also an inspiring leader, capable of mobilizing the community for charity and support for those in need. Growth and changes. With each passing day, the shelter became not just a place where homeless animals dwelled, but an entire community of care and love. Thanks to the constant efforts of Marilyn and her team, the shelter expanded and transformed, reflecting vibrant energy and support. Several months passed since the shelter's opening, and during this time, noticeable changes occurred. The number of homeless animals seeking help decreased, and those finding new homes became bright examples of how care and attention can change lives. Marilyn expanded the team, involving not only experienced volunteers, but also specialists in veterinary, psychology, and education. The shelter became a place not only for temporary sheltering of animals, but also for their rehabilitation and preparation for a new life. Social projects and events organized by the shelter attracted public attention. Marilyn conducted lectures and workshops on animal care, involving people in the process of education and development. As a result, the shelter became not only a rescue for animals, but also an example of attention to animal protection in general. The combined efforts and continuous growth led to the shelter becoming an integral part of society, sparking changes and fostering a broader understanding of animal care. Marilyn discovered that her idea became a catalyst for change, and with each passing day, her shelter not only expanded but also left a lasting impact on the hearts of those involved in this noble endeavor. Fulfilled dreams. After some time, the shelter became not only a place where homeless animals were cared for, but also a center of attention in society. This chapter of Marilyn's story was filled not only with difficulties and struggles, but also with fulfilled dreams and successes. Thanks to constant efforts and community support, the shelter evolved into a modern center for animals, providing not only temporary shelter but also services for medical rehabilitation, training, and even adoption programs. Many animals found new loving families, and the shelter became a bridge between homeless animals and those willing to provide them with a home and care. Marilyn continued to be an inspiration to others. Her story of giving up luxury to create a shelter became a topic of conversations in the media and public events. She became the voice of those who believe that everyone can contribute to making the world a better place, starting with small actions. The shelter became a center not only for animals, but also for education and community involvement. Marilyn became an active advocate for the rights and well-being of animals, and her story became a source of inspiration for others seeking meaning and noble goals. Marilyn's fulfilled dreams became dreams for many others. The shelter became not just a building, but a symbol of hope and proof that one person deciding to change their life can make the world better for everyone. New horizons. After several years, Marilyn's shelter became not only successful, but also a crucial element in the city's life. New horizons opened up for Marilyn, her shelter, and everyone who participated in this remarkable journey. The shelter became a hub for innovations and experiments in the field of animal protection. With funds from various sources, programs for the training and rehabilitation of homeless animals were established, increasing their chances of successful adaptation in new families. Marilyn expanded her efforts beyond the shelter, participating in the creation of educational programs on responsible pet ownership in schools and universities. Her story served as an example of how strong will and love can transform not only a person's destiny, but also change the world around. The shelter team became a kind of family, where people from all over the city united around a common goal. New projects and ideas emerged, and the shelter became not only a place for animals, but also a center for social initiatives. This chapter of Marilyn's life concluded not just with success, but left an incredible impact on the hearts of those who believed in the possibility of change. The new horizons opened by her and her team became a beacon of light for everyone searching for meaning and direction in their lives. The story of Marilyn's life is an inspiring guide through difficulties, changes, and the search for meaning. She began her journey as a spoiled daughter of a wealthy father, deprived of her privileged lifestyle. Instead of sinking into despair, Marilyn found the strength and inspiration to create a shelter for homeless animals. Marilyn's story vividly demonstrates how a person can overcome personal challenges and find meaning in life through serving a charitable purpose. Rejecting the past, the struggle for support, and the growth of the shelter became symbols of her determination and influence. The chapters of Marilyn's story reflect a constant pursuit of meaning, the power of one's will, and the impact one person can have on society. She not only created a shelter for homeless animals, but also became a source of inspiration for others, showing that true happiness and the meaning of life are found in serving and helping those in need.